a dappled wonder, settling across the fields, hovering on angel wings, brandishing a blazing shield.
Where do they go? The ones that run away and never return.
There is nothing here but suffering, pain and suffering. It is time to go.
And first of all, congratulations on a fantastic job that you've been doing in the United States of America, flying our flag extremely high. I mean, you've been doing it since you were here, and now you've got, Underground Railroad coming out and all the excitement. Talk to me about your excitement from the moment you found out that this was even a possibility.
Oh my gosh, I think for me, it takes a while for things to sink in. So even when I got the call from Barry to tell me that I had gotten the role, it took a moment for me to fully grasp what it meant. It's a project that, having gotten to know it in my preparation in the audition, that I really felt like I wanted to do because of how powerful the story is and what an impact I feel it will have on people, that I accepted it for what it was. Yes, now I've gotten the role, but also at the time I wasn't allowed to share it with anyone. And then it was only when people found out that I'd gotten the role and people now started talking about the fact that I'm the first South African actress to lead an American series, and I was like, oh snap, this is bigger than me. And people have literally been supportive from that time until now. And technically, I've been, I haven't been doing anything in South Africa for 2 years, but that hasn't deterred their support of me. And now that the show is about to come out, again, for me, it was a case of Barry was happy, Amazon is happy, so I am happy. I'm waiting for the world to experience the show because it's massive. Like, we think we're ready for it, but I can 100% tell you now, we're not ready for this show. From the story to how it was treated, just, production-wise, costume design, art department, production design, lighting, sound. It's art alive, and we are not ready for it. But again, the support coming from South Africans has been astounding, to say the least, and I think it has lifted my spirits, that I am on edge, excited for them to experience it with me.
The girl in that bulletin is wanted for the murder of a child.
Man lost my mom, then me. Ain't no way he ever given up on finding me.
There's anger in you. It'll fuel you, yes.
The story of racial segregation, a story of, an apartheid-like system is something that all South Africans are very well aware of. We're very well versed in. How close was the story to home? And how easy was it to actually, find yourself deep within the story?
So I think the one thing that actually made it click for me, I had extensive research to do in preparation for the character, because all I knew about the enslaved body in America was the limited knowledge that we have just as Africans in general, and stuff that one had consumed but dictated to by, the white male gaze, which serves its own agenda, and that's another story for another time. But I had a lot of unlearning to do in order to learn the truth of, the Black experience in America. But the one thing that really set it off for me was Barry had sent me a whole lot of things to read and listen to, and he had sent me audio testimonials of former enslaved people. And in hearing them speak, giving them voice, not just being another concept or idea that I was gonna put my own judgment on, I heard them speak an English that is broken. Because the truth is, they weren't taught English for conversation. They were taught English for instruction. You understand what I want you to do and you do it, and that's it. The last thing I need is for people to understand each other and start a revolution, right? And so they spoke in English that is broken, but an English that is very familiar to me, because it is the same English that if you were to get out of your chair right now and go to a township or a rural area in South Africa, you would hear it today. And so it ceased being a story about African Americans, but it became a story about Africans in America. Had I been born at a different time and under different circumstances, it easily could have been me in that story.
What's the worst kind of you? The worst kind.
Every man is capable of, when he believes his cause to be just.
You came all this way on the railroad?
Yeah. I left behind all those peoples.
I mean, that's a beautiful way to put it, Africans in America, because essentially that's what it is. Let's focus a little bit on the accent part of it. You mentioned the fact that the English is broken, and we know that from, you know, the movies that we've watched before as South Africans. How hard was it to get, first of all, the accent? And is it a bit of a Southern accent? Is it a bit more of a broken English accent?
It's more of a Southern accent. We couldn't 100%, you know, speak as they did, because you would legit need subtitles. I remember reading their testimonials and hearing them. I struggled to make sense of what was happening. So if we were 100%, if we went 100% in that direction, we would need subtitles for majority of the movie. And so we found a place that kind of made sense for the character, but I had a dialect coach from the very beginning that helped me, that I went to and asked her to help me track the character's vocal journey. And as much as I was, you know, developing her physical journey and her emotional journey, tracking her vocal journey for me was just as important, because having done physical theater in university, part of the course was something called voice movement therapy, and we learned how much of our emotional and physical journeys are tied to our vocal journeys. And so when we meet Cora as an enslaved girl in the Georgia plantation who only knows pain and suffering, and who's actually quite isolated within her community, her voice that carries trauma and chaos and these feelings of abandonment and rejection from her mother who left her at a young age is very different to a Cora who's now in episode 10, who's experienced a whole lot of life in between. And the life in between includes being taught how to speak correctly, how to conduct yourself in the world, you know, and experiences of watching other people die in this journey to her freedom. And so when we see her towards the end, she's in a place where she is forced, one, to tell her story, which is something she had been running from, and that takes a different kind of courage. And so how she sounds at the beginning versus how she sounds at the end are two completely different things. And in tracking my vocal journey, it made learning the dialect became that much easier. And honestly speaking, the Southern dialect is much easier than learning the standard American accent, which I'm currently doing now. But yeah, that's another topic for another day.
And now being on set, that must have been quite something spectacular as well. And I mean, let's talk about the fact that, you know, you've obviously done television and you've done some screen time in South Africa. You know, we always believe that, you know, you head to America and it's bigger and it's better. Was that the case? And just how much did that blow your mind?
Whew. It's definitely a different ballgame here. And I think it's because the circumstances are so different. We have the resources back in South Africa. We have the cast, we have the crew who are talented and brilliant. However, the circumstances are vastly different. First thing that affects it is the budget. In South Africa, we shoot 13 episodes in 5.5 weeks. With Underground Railroad, we're shooting 10 episodes and it took us about 10 months. And that shows you the amount of time, you know, taken and into focusing on the detail. At home, we shoot 16 scenes in one day. Most of the things that people watch, well, with me, my personal experience, was one take. and that's what you see in the on TV. Whereas here, we would shoot at the very maximum 4 scenes a day. So we would do and explore things to a higher degree and higher level, so that you knew that you were leaving nothing on the table when it came to serving the character. And just also with the Underground Railroad, I think people will have different experiences on different sets in America, and this is not just like the standard. The Underground Railroad was a massive undertaking. We had real trains on set, so that goes to show what it is that I was experiencing. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. We had them build an underground train system from scratch, and that goes a very long way. So yes, there was a vast difference, and budget and story has a great deal to do with it.
The ones that run away and never return.
There is nothing here but suffering.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic speaking to South Africa's newest international sensation. And Thuso, thank you so much for making time to hang out with us. The Underground Railroad premieres this Friday, 14th of May, on Amazon Prime. Mpho, you've already said you're definitely going to watch it.
Absolutely.